What's going on, Guardians? It's Tizzle here, and in this video, I have an insanely powerful endgame build that I think you're going to love. I just soloed the master version of the Moon Battleground Nightfall with this build, and I have to admit, I have been sleeping on Strand Hunter hard in PvE. I just couldn't find a playstyle that I really liked with Hunter. Titan had infinite suspend with Abeyant Leap and the strongest melee build in the game with Synthos. Warlock had the poison everything build with Necrotic Grip and Osteostriga and Mindspun Invocation. Or you could build into Threadlings with the Swarmers, but I just couldn't find a synergistic pairing with Hunter. I liked 6 Coyote for double suspending targets with your dodge, but that was about it. Nothing really jumped out at me. I felt none of the aspects paired super well with any exotics, and the aspects felt sort of standalone instead of working together with a build. But that all changed this season with the release of Whirling Maelstrom. This aspect states destroying a tangle will weave a violent, writhing mass of strand fibers. The strand mass seeks out and damages targets, emitting unraveling projectiles when it defeats them. These tangles move like Beyblades and deal a surprising amount of damage. And later in the video, I will show you how to soup them up to hit even harder. But right off the bat, this aspect is my favorite in the Strand Hunter kit. In this season, tangle cooldowns were reduced from 15 seconds down to 12, so you can have a Beyblade on the field at pretty much any time. For the aspect we are pairing with this build, we are going with Widow's Silk for a very specific reason. This gives us an additional grenade charge and gives you the ability to create a grapple tangle at the grapple point. This will be crucial to this build, because the exotic we are running is Surturacne's Facade. It has the exotic perk Acrobat's Focus, gain Woven Mail when activating grapple, increased flinch resistance while Woven Mail is active. So the gameplay loop is to run grapple grenades, you make a grapple point, and then continuously refresh your Woven Mail every 10 seconds by grappling to that point. This will basically give you 100% uptime on Woven Mail, which gives you 60% damage resistance. That is a big reason why this build is so strong in endgame. Woven Mail will allow you to be more aggressive to deal damage to enemies, while also not dying to one-shots pretty much ever. This brings us to the first aspect that you need to run, which is Thread of Transmutation. While you have Woven Mail, Weapon Final Blows create a tangle. So you can literally make a tangle at any time with this build, so long as your tangle isn't on cooldown. So every 12 seconds you can litter the battlefield with these spinning tangles. And speaking of, the Maelstroms last for 12 seconds on their own, so if you wait a few moments to shoot the tangle, they can often create another tangle by killing something when the tangle cooldown ends. However, in high-end content, I prefer to shoot them right away so that I can set up the next tangle that I'm going to create, to intentionally shoot it in a big group of adds so it will deal the most damage, or to drop the tangle on a champion or boss so that it can deal damage to a high health target, rather than just being dropped in a random spot on the battlefield. And in case you were wondering, Thread of Continuity makes a sever effect on enemies last longer, but it does not increase the time of the Beyblade. It is 12 seconds with or without the fragment. However, I do still recommend running this fragment for the longer sever effect. The third fragment I run is Thread of Generation, where dealing damage generates grenade energy. This got a nerf this season, but let me tell you, the Beyblade dealing damage over time gives massive grenade energy back. The grenade is what makes this whole build run. You have to grapple to activate Woven Mail from the exotic, so you never want to be without grenade energy in this build at all. So this is a wonderful fragment to run. The last fragment is optional. I choose to run Thread of Warding, where picking up an Orb of Power grants Woven Mail. I know this may seem counterproductive given the fact that we can make Woven Mail on demand, but in situations where you have to move from your posted up spot, this is very beneficial. It allows you to keep a grenade on hand if you need it to grapple out of a sticky situation, and this actually comes up a lot in the Protect the Ghost encounter of the Moon Battlegrounds mission. You usually kill the enemies right before you go to deploy the Ghost, so you can create an orb, activate Woven Mail from your grapple point and cover, and then sprint out to the middle of the room, and on the way you can pick up that orb to refresh Woven Mail. Then you can post up and cover again to defend the Ghost and activate your grapple there. And then you can grapple out to safety once you have to dip back to cover. I know this is a very specific example and it's quite situational, but just trust me, it comes up more than you think, so it's a very good fragment to run. And in team play, it will probably be even better because you have teammates making orbs as well. It's just another tool in your kit to always have Woven Mail active, which is a catalyst for this whole build, and it helps you stay alive. If you didn't want to run Thread of Warding, however, then Thread of Ascent is the logical next choice, where activating your grenade reloads your equipped weapon and gives you an AE and handling bonus. This is basically a permanent buff with this setup. So those are the aspects and fragments, and the gameplay loop is quite simple. Make a grapple point, grapple to it every 10 seconds to refresh Woven Mail, kill an enemy to make a tangle thanks to Thread of Transmutation giving you tangles for weapon kills while you have Woven Mail active, and then shoot the tangle and watch it destroy enemies. Rinse, repeat. So now let's dive into the mods. On the helmet, you want a siphon mod to make orbs. I will get into why orbs are so important in a second, but as I mentioned, this can help us with threat of warding. I also run 2 Font of Wisdom mods to increase my intellect by 50 stat points, 30 for one mod and 20 for the second. This is because in the Moon Battleground specifically, you need your super in the ghost room to help defend the ghosts as long as possible. But you can run what you like here. Just make sure you have at least one siphon mod. On the arms, it really doesn't matter what you run, so go nuts. I had solar dexterity for swapping to my solar weapons. On the chest, you definitely want resist mods in high-end content, but in lower-end content, I would suggest charged up to increase your damage output. On the boots, you want one scavenger matching your heavy weapon, and then I would go with surge mods that also match your weapons. And then on the class item, bomber is good so you can dodge for grenade energy if you happen to need it, and at least one time dilation mod, if not 2. This will extend your timer for surges, as well as an artifact mod that I will get to, and your font mods if you are running any. So now let's talk artifact perks. This is what really ties this build together this season and makes it so powerful. You have elemental munitions where final blows with tangles have a chance to drop special or heavy ammo. As you can see in the background gameplay, the battlefield was quite literally littered with ammo drops. It is actually crazy how good this perk is. Basically, every tangle you make will get 1 heavy brick, and you are making them every 12 seconds. This is why I was running a scavenger mod, because they are just finder bricks, so scavs will help you get more mileage out of them. In the Nightfall, I also had on Rapid Fire Ranger where rapid precision hits against distant combatants weakens them for about 25 seconds. This is a 15% debuff and is extremely strong in endgame content thanks to how easy it is to proc, especially with this build. You also want Elemental Fury where champions take bonus damage from your abilities and elemental orbs, refreshing pickups to help give you ability energy back when you pick up a tangle. Remember, you don't have to just shoot the tangles. You can also pick them up and throw them to activate the Beyblade form. And then finally, Semi-Auto Striker, where rapid precision hits with bows, snipers, and scout rifles generate an armor charge if you have less than 2 stacks of armor charge. What is crazy about this mod is it works in conjunction with Rapid Fire Ranger. So you can land 2 bow precision hits, and then you activate a 15% weaken on an enemy, as well as giving yourself armor charge. So depending what you have on for surges, this can make you deal anywhere from 10 to 22% more damage. I was running 1 kinetic surge and 1 solar surge, so my bow and rocket would each deal 10% more damage in this case. Again, this is amazing in endgame where you may struggle to pick up orbs, so being able to gain more damage from sitting back is both very strong and very safe. And then there is another mod you can run in lower end content. I ran this mod in another run of the Nightfall, but found Rapid Fire Ranger to be more beneficial for dealing damage to the boss, but you could run Frenzied Stacks to increase the damage of your Beyblades. Here you can see on Carl the base Beyblade hits for 1823 damage over and over, but if you run Frenzied Stack, this damage scales up with your armor charges. So if you have 6 armor charges, it will hit for 2917 damage per tick, 1.6 times more damage. But you do need 6 armor charges, which means running 3 charged up mods and no resist mods. So I was fine with the base damage, as even in master content, it was putting in serious work. But I wanted to show that it is an option. So what weapons did I run for this? Well, Wish Ender is always amazing. It is great with Kinetic Siphon because it is so easy to get multi-kills with, even in GM content. So I can't recommend it enough. And if Unstoppables are in the content, then I would recommend a Shoot to Loot Unstoppable Scout Rifle. If it is Overload, then ideally a Shoot to Loot Hand Cannon, if any exists in the energy slot. I know the Valpecula can roll with it, but then you can't run Wish Ender. Shoot to Loot is great for this build because you are making so much ammo that you can just shoot a brick to pick it up, allowing you to stay in cover. And the same goes for Orbs of Power, so I can't recommend that enough. But even without Shoot to Loot, a hand cannon with explosive payload or time payload is really good for dealing with overloads. For a heavy, I had a Reconstruction Bipod rocket launcher which actually worked great. You can basically spam rockets thanks to all the heavy on the ground, but a bait and switch or explosive light rocket might even be better since ammo really isn't a concern. Bipod has the advantage of more reserves at the cost of damage, but I gotta say I was impressed with how it performed. If you wanted to run an exotic heavy instead, then I think Xenophage would do wonders here. Overload Machine Gun is on the artifact this season, and Xeno is great for quickly killing adds, so it could make orbs a solar siphon easily, and also quickly shred a red bar to make a tangle for you, and you have near unlimited ammo anyways with elemental munitions. Leviathan's Breath is also very strong if it is Void Burn. It all just depends on the activity really. I just loved Wish Ender for its one-shot capability on adds, allowing you to easily make a tangle whenever you want. So we have covered the exotic, aspects, fragments, mods, and weapon loadouts. All that is left is stat distribution. You of course want 100 resilience and high-end content, and then as high of discipline as you can get because, as I stated, it is super important to always have a grenade ready. Other than that, you do you. Threat of Generation can also alleviate the discipline requirements as long as you are always making tangles, but again, better safe than sorry. Anyways, that is pretty much it for the build. I can't stress enough how impressed I was with the strength of this build. It was truly impressive how strong it was at both ad clear and single target damage. I could take out unstops in one stun thanks to rapid fire ranger weakening them, and then being able to fire off 4 bipod rockets in quick succession. And the super round strand hunter has amazing ad clear as well, but it's also good for single target damage. So give this build a try and get used to it before Grandmasters drop. I think you will be extremely impressed. And as always, if you made it this far, thanks so much for watching to the end. It means a lot. And if you want to see more helpful Destiny build guides, then be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future uploads. Anyways, thanks for watching and take care.